And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, alongside Gerard Singleton.
Good to be here, Jeff.
And our guest today, she hadn't been here in a while, but we haven't forgot her. She is Ann Bruehler.
Hi.
How are you?
Here.
Charleston Community Theater, you're going strong, and so appreciate you coming back and talking all things theater today and what's happening in Charleston Community Theater, and go from there. But we always like to, for the folks who don't know what the Charleston Community Theater is, give us a little background and a just a little, like a 1 minute diatribe of what is CCT.
Sure. CCT started in 1963 and has been going strong ever since. There was a short time in the 90s where they didn't produce shows, and of course we had the pandemic pause. But we produce 3 to 4 shows a year, and it's always our goal to bring new people in from the community, whether it's behind the scenes or on the stage, and almost every single show we're able to do that. We've got a show coming up that's opening April 11th and runs through the 19th of April, and it's called Southern Fried Nuptials. And it's just one of those sit back and laugh about family foibles and, family secrets that come out, and all things goofy around this family wedding that they're trying to get off the ground in a few days, yeah. And we are just having a ball with it. We've got a fairly big cast of 11, and we've got some people who've never been on stage before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is always great. We've got some people that have never been on stage here but have been active in other communities, and then we've got people coming back like me, who can't get enough of the stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Nice. What initially drew you to pursuing community theater?
Well, I was never involved in it as a kid or a young adult or anything. I raised a family and worked and things like that. And before I turned 50, it was a bucket list item, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. But I didn't have a clue about how to do it. And so I took a class out at Lakeland. It was a community-oriented class, and learned about auditioning and monologues and all that kind of stuff. And then I auditioned with a show for CCT, Love, Lost, and What I Wore, and really caught the bug, and worked with several area community
That's cool.
groups.
The Southern Fried Nuptials you talked about, and the intriguing part is the people that have never been on stage.
Yeah.
And you're a veteran, so do you help coach them, or do they ask? Take us through some of the
absolutely. So we had Priscilla McKinney is our director, and one of our people was friends with someone who's friend of a friend who was involved in the show, and so he came out and he said, I've always wanted to do it. It was something I wanted to do before I was 30. And he's a natural. He's fantastic. John Olmsted. He's really funny. He's got great comic timing. Another one is Freddie Bastias, who works at a pizza place, and our director Priscilla was just talking to him out there, picking up a pizza, and she said, you've really got something, and would you be interested in community theater? And he's like, sure, I'll try it. And he's fantastic. So, we've got some other people. Linda Gant, who is a professor in the economics department. Right. She joined us for a few shows at the tech table doing sound and lights, and this season she said, I think I'd like to get on stage. And our last show was a series of short scenes, and she was in one of those scenes, and she's joined us again for this show. So I think she's caught the bug too.
Right. Now, when you do these people all audition, and then somebody has to make that choice? Who's the choice makers? Who has to say, we want J-Rod, or we want you, or how's that work? So.
Sure. So the production team, which are primarily the director, so the director has the last say, but in this show, we've got Priscilla, who's our main director, and Ty Patterson is assisting, and then myself as the producer. I'm in it, but I'm also the producer. And we've got Jakari Morris, who's assistant producer, and we all. We always do cold readings from the script, so everybody's kind of on the same playing field. We give them sides when they come into audition, and they get a chance to read it over, and then just stand up and read it with expression. We have everybody, do different characters and things like that, and you just see how people fit together and who can express themselves the best way for the characters.
Would you be able to walk us through kind of the mindset of not only selecting what type of shows you're going to put on? Like, as I know, there are a whole lot of good choices, and sometimes that decision anxiety can set in and be like, oh, what are we going to do? But what about the process for like selecting a director for certain programs? Would it be the same person every time, or do you vary it up?
We do vary it. We do draw primarily from our board of directors, but we don't have to. And once every couple of years, we bring in other people who have expressed an interest to us. We do have a reading committee who reads scripts all the time, but what we do is, like, the first half of our season, which is August through December, we just read whatever comes to us. And then after January, we kind of buckle down and say, okay, we need to decide what's going to happen the next season. And so shows that actors or directors have come to us and say, hey, I love this script. I really want to be in it, or I really want to direct this. I have a real vision for the show. Those always get some priority, but we always like to bring in like some old favorites sometimes too. Like we did Glengarry Glen Ross last year. We've done Death of a Salesman, things like that, with high recognition, general recognition. Every year we try to generally hit a comedy, a drama, and a classic, and of course sometimes there's overlap with that. But we try to get some new and a mix of new and old.
Nice.
Community theater, and talk about its importance to any community, but mainly Charles. So it's an important part of it.
It's so important. So community theater, what it brings to audiences is a chance to experience different lives and different situations in a very safe environment. So you can explore a lot of different ideas and experience them from the character's perspective. It's a chance to educate. It's a chance to provide a shared experience. So, you have a room full of people that are laughing together or feeling sad together. It really adds to the community of a place. So that's what we work for.
Okay.
Nice. Out of all the productions you've worked on or produced for or even been in, has there been a particular role or particular production that you've favorited or something that you prefer?
Oh, that is such a hard question.
I was going to ask the same thing. That's awesome.
I really... I think I'm going to say, I brought it up before, but Glengarry Glen Ross, I directed, and it was one that we had planned on for 2021. It had to be postponed twice. We had a lot of actors who were very interested in bringing it to the stage, who wanted to be a part of it, and it was just a really good experience. It was the actors really brought difficult roles to the stage. So,
when did you know that Southern Fried Nuptials was going to be the one that you wanted to do, and take us into like what people can expect to see?
Sure. So in that case, Priscilla had read the script and really wanted this is probably a couple of years ago when she brought it to our committee, and she said this is hilarious and I love it, and so we all read it. We all agreed with her, and so she was the one definitely to direct it. She had a vision from the very beginning, and we all agreed. Okay. So that was an easy one to pick.
So you were talking about how you kind of get to thinking about things ahead for the next season.
Sure.
for those in the audience who don't know, can you kind of explain what constitutes a season? Like,
Sure. And it varies from theater group to theater group. So Charleston Community Theater's season, we do a fall show, a winter show, which usually falls in February, and then a spring show. And we don't usually do anything over the summer.
Okay.
We also have an improv group called Corn Belt Underground, which we plug shows in for them 2 or 3 times a year. And then sometimes we do like little one-time things as well. Like some of the other groups, Theater in the Park, for example, they do one show in July every year. That's their big deal. Central Illinois Stage Company does a big musical in June, and they also do a number of dinner theaters to raise money throughout the year. So, but they do a big musical in the summer. So, varies.
Yeah. Is there anything that, like, I guess who's like, are you in charge of the overall Charleston Community Theater, or is the board make decisions, or how does that work? Because
Yeah.
I mean, when you have a bunch of people, somebody has to make the ultimate decision.
Right. So we have a board of 11 people, and of course we within ourselves elect president, vice president, publicity chair, and secretary treasurer, all that good stuff. And we like people to stay on the board for a couple of years at least. But yeah, then we pick from within the board. People had the hang of it for a couple of years. Yeah.
So in terms of getting the word out for these productions, or even not just for an audience perspective, but maybe people who may have a prospective interest in acting, or even some behind the scenes work, how do you all go about recruiting folks?
Sure. So we primarily use our Facebook page, and we have personally dropped our website. It got very expensive for us. We're on a shoestring budget, like
Fair
so
enough.
many. But we also sell all our tickets through BookTix, and so you can always see what's going on through it's charlestonct.booktix.com, and there's a list of all of our things that is going on there, all our shows.
What's the Friday Up shows? How many different times will you do it?
Sure, we do 6 performances. We open on the 11th, and so we have evening performances on the 11th, 12th, and then the next weekend, the 17th, 18th, and 19th at 7:30, and we're doing a matinee on Sunday the 13th at 2 p.m. And all our shows are at the Elks Lodge, and they're lower level. There's a separate entrance for us on 6th Street. We are so grateful to the Elks. They've been wonderful for us to let us host, and we can do anything we want. You know, use our stage.
And you've been using those for like probably
for a long time. Yeah.
It's been a while, yeah.
About 7 years.
Take us into the process when obviously you're in the 24-25 season, if you want to look at it that way. So is 25, 26 already decided, or are you still trying to make those choices?
We have just made the choice for that. We try to announce our season with our program, but I'll give you the scoop.
We love breaking news at WEIU.
Exactly,
So,
the
yeah.
exclusive.
So we are going to open our season in the fall with the Second to Last Chance Ladies League. And it's about a group of lifelong friends, very different personalities. If you saw Always a Bridesmaid, which we put on in 2018, this is written by the same folks, Jones Hope Wooten. They were writers for the Golden Girls. To give
There you go.
yeah,
Nice.
and characters are very different and situations are very different. But this is the same ladies from Always a Bridesmaid are a few years later in their life situation. Then in the winter, we're doing the 39 Steps, which is a classic and a drama, a case of mistaken identity. And then in the spring, we're doing kind of a dramedy, I guess you'd call it. It's called Fuddy Mears. And one of the main characters has a speech problem as a result of a medical condition, but all these situations that befall, people are trying to figure out what's going on. It's really funny and interesting, and one of those new scripts that I think people will enjoy.
So you're set through 25, 26.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Southern Fried Nuptials, can you take us maybe through the top 2 or 3 people in the cast and maybe a description of what their character is?
Sure, absolutely. We've got Sarah Rundles, who is starring as Harleen Fry, and she's the bride getting married, and she's got cold feet, and her fiance is Addie, and he's played by Jonathan Stauder, who's been involved in the past several productions. We've got Catherine Stewart, who's playing Harleen's mother, and we've got a lot of great people coming back. Holly Allen as Harleen's sister Sammy, and a really good group.
Nice. So as a prior actor myself, I know there's a lot more to productions than just what goes on stage. Can you talk about a little bit about like the set designing process and how you all go about procuring props and wardrobe and things like that?
Yeah. So in community theater, people wear a lot of different hats, right? So in like Southern Fried Nuptials, Priscilla had an idea of how she wanted the set, and so she's the primary designer. All of the cast and crew have gotten together a couple times to do painting and hammer and nails and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. Prop-wise, it finally falls to the producer in our organization to make sure all the props are there, but a lot of times the actors themselves will say, "Hey, I've got that at home," or
Yeah.
I know how I can make that. And we had such fun. One thing we're doing is we have to bring in the bride's dress, the gown, in a big box. Well, finding a box that fit just right, and the real wedding dress boxes are quite expensive, so we ended up doctoring up a cake box.
Nice.
Yeah, but a couple of the actors and I were just cutting up cardboard and reinforcing it, and so that's
modern
what it
problems
takes.
require
That's
modern
what it takes,
solutions.
yeah.
It's all about budget too, right?
Absolutely.
So we on a Southern Fried Nuptial on any given day, how many people does it take that day and that night to run that, to make that show happen? Kind of take off what Gerard said.
Yeah, usually about 10 to 15, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've got we use a stage manager backstage to help prepare the props. Hand them off to the actors, help with dress changes, things like that. We've got a lights person, a sound person, and then of course you've got your ticket takers, and there's room for all kinds of help.
Yeah, that was my next question would be, do you need volunteers for this season or upcoming seasons or upcoming shows?
Definitely for next year we will, and we love to hear through people through Facebook. They can email us, charlestoncomtheater@gmail. That's always a good way to reach us and just say, hey, I'd like to get involved. Tell me how, and we'll figure out a good spot for them.
Are you the only community theater in Charleston right now? I know you talked about some of the summer
Yeah,
people
we're not, and I do want to give a little shout out for the shows that are coming up because I'm involved in those too. So
is Cat Alley one of the ones? Are they still around or not?
they are not.
Okay.
Charleston Alley Theater shut down a few years ago,
Okay.
but we're filled in. Like I said, I mentioned Central Illinois
Yeah.
Stage Company. They are putting on Shrek the Musical at
One of my
Doudna
favorites.
in June, the last weekend of June, the 26th through the 29th, and their auditions are coming up April 26th and 27th, and I'm in charge of props for that show. Yeah,
Nice.
which is going to be so much fun. And I'll be there at the auditions, handing out the proper forms and things like that. And there, you can go online to centralillinoisstage.com and get all the audition information, also from their Facebook page. And those auditions are, I think I said 26th and 27th, from 1 to 5, noon to 5. And then the other group, Theater in the Park, is going to have auditions the next weekend, May 3rd and 4th, at Wesley United Methodist Church, and their show is in Kiwanis Park. It's outdoors, which is so much fun, and it's Midsummer
I'm about to say it's going to be nice
Night's
outside.
Dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Knock on wood.
right. We always luck out.
Well, doesn't it snow in the play?
And one thing that's fun about Midsummer Night's Dream is we are taking all ages because there are fairies in that show, and we'll take little ones. You know, if moms want to come out and audition with their kids, we'd love it. So,
That's awesome. Cool.
yeah.
We're talking to Ann Bruehler today from the Charleston Community Theater, learning all things theater. Go ahead, Gerard.
Have there been any new tools or anything that you've been able to adopt to make the process of producing shows easier?
question.
Because I know, like at, say for instance, at Doudna, for people, especially surviving the COVID situation, I know they're like a remote viewing experiences, or even people who can't make it to auditions. Would they be able to send like an audition tape?
Absolutely. Usually, we just arrange for another time when they can be met. But yeah, there are multiple ways that people, if they can't fit into the time slots, then we are always willing to make accommodation.
Nice. And along those lines, I was going to ask, is there any like digital archive of you all shows? Because I think it'd be really valuable to kind of, keep these shows for the community and be like, hey, this is 2021 show.
Right. Some shows specify that they cannot be recorded.
Oh, yeah. True.
Right, and all that stuff.
So we
Yeah.
have to be very careful. We try to keep an archive for ourselves, but yes, you have to be really careful these
True.
days. Yeah, I would also love that.
Yeah.
Ann Bruehler, do you since you're on stage a lot for these shows, do you have a process to get ready for a show or acting process? Can you
Yeah,
share?
absolutely. For me, it's important. I always write out all my lines because they have to come out through my fingers, and in order to get back into my brain.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my process, and repeat. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to develop a background for a character that helps you deliver the lines, and say, well, they've been friends for 35 years, and you picture them in high school, and that kind of a thing. So.
Have you ever forgot a line up there on stage?
Oh yeah.
What does one do when that happens?
Think fast. I had one incident where I was doing a show out at Lincoln Log Cabin, so I was wearing a dress with a giant hoop skirt, and I was about to go out on stage, and the skirt caught on
Piece of the set?
a piece of the set backstage, and so I jerked back, and it threw me off, and I got out there and had no idea what to say, and another actor was joined me, and he came out and he looked at me, and I looked at him, kind of frozen deer in the headlights, and he said, "Isn't there something about a ship?" And then I knew, I was supposed to talk about the boat. Okay.
There you go.
So
that was my next question. Your fellow actor really, or the director has to there has to be some kind of verbal.
Yeah.
Totally.
You usually are quite aware of your cue lines and what the other actors are going to say in the scene with you, and people are really good about helping each other out. So
That's cool.
I was gonna say,
Make a suggestion.
being that you all do incorporate improv into your season, I think that's a pretty useful tool to have up on stage when those
Absolutely.
moments happen. And I was gonna ask, give me 1 second here. Yeah, I was gonna ask, in terms of the process of practicing and getting schedules aligned, because I know with community theaters, different people have jobs and obligations they have to get through. How do you go about, are they evening practices or early in the morning?
yeah, we
What do
have
they look
evening
like?
practices, usually Mondays through Thursdays. Every once in a while, we'll throw in a Saturday or Sunday when we can, but we always try to accommodate people's schedules. When we have auditions, we always say, tell us between now and production week when you're not available, and we always work around that.
Nice.
Have you ever thought about writing your own screenplay or a play, or have you? Or
I have. I have. Every couple of years, CCT does a new play festival, and I wrote one called A Miniature Life. And we put that on, and that was an amazing experience. I also do historical presentations. I've done one as Mary Lincoln. I'm writing one now as Lincoln's mothers, Nancy Hanks Lincoln and Sarah Bush Lincoln, and I will be presenting that at the 5 Mile House in May.
There you go.
Yeah.
How many shows do you think you've acted in over the years? Have you counted them up?
29.
You
Ooh, I'm about to say,
I knew you would know.
every professional knows. Every
Right,
professional
right.
knows.
What do you think is the most valuable skill you've learned from being up there 29 times?
Oh, gosh. It definitely adds to self-confidence. Not only doing it right, but being able to improvise
And,
Ad lib.
and
when
enjoy it more,
when
yeah.
things go wrong. It's like, oh, gotta make this work, even though I can't remember what I'm supposed to be saying, right?
We have a lot of people here at East Carolina University, and a lot of actually WEIU students these last couple of years who've really been involved in the acting craft, dialed in stuff. Could you give some advice to the EIU young actors out there?
Yeah, don't be afraid of trying. Shows have so many different levels. Some things you can come on and do 1 or 2 lines, and get your feet wet and see that you can do it. Sometimes you just click and you get a major role. It's just so much fun. Every single cast and crew is its own family, and the relationships I have built over the years are just amazing. In my normal life as a retired teacher, I don't have a lot of opportunity to mix with young 20s and 30s. But through theater, I can, and I've just made some wonderful relationships, and that's the best part.
We have a minute and a half left with Charleston Community Theater's Ann Bruehler. Do you have any more to drop?
Yeah, in terms of you're giving us a rundown of kind of different genres you do, like the historical presentations. You do traditional stage plays. Do you have a preference between musicals, those historical presentations, and traditional stage plays?
Comedy is always fun, but I really like to get into a good meaty drama. So it's fun to play a villain.
I get that.
Ooh, the real Ann's coming out here. That's a good question. Do you have a hobby besides theater, or is it kind of taking over your...
I'm a big gardener,
Okay.
so I'm getting into gardening season too. Yeah, I love to grow flowers. And
Is there a play or a show that you've seen the most?
that I've seen the most? Gosh, probably My Fair Lady, my favorite musical.
Do you have an all-time favorite play, or maybe even a play and or actor?
Well, can I say playwright? I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
like Tennessee Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, I love his stuff.
Famous person you ever met during all this acting stuff? You ever met anybody famous in the acting world?
In the acting world, I really haven't. Okay. I'm open.
Well, give us your information real quick. We're about out of time today, Ann, but go ahead so people can find out about...
Sure.
CCT.
Charleston Community Theater. You can buy tickets online at charlestonct.booktix.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. Good seeing you
Thank
again.
you so much.
Thank you. It's
Best
great
of luck with the
having you.
show.